Hello, welcome back to my channel, Oathbound Secrets. And I've been meaning to make more videos during this heat wave, but I've also been gallivanting around, and I wanted to make a video about the art of sacred pilgrimage because to me, like, this is something very important, is to visit sacred places and connect with nature as much as possible. And I think there's so many fascinating places to visit. And my latest trip was to North Wales, Snowdonia. I could try to pronounce the Welsh name, but I'm not very good at that. I apologise. But of course, I do want to encourage the use of the Welsh language as much as possible. So I'm trying. At least I can remember how to say Wales, and that is Cymru. Okay, I've got that one. Cymru? 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 Okay, I think I've got that one. I'm sorry. I'm trying my best to learn more because I absolutely love Wales. I love Cymru, and I think it's the most stunning, beautiful place, and also rich with so much culture and history, and the colonial history of what was done to Wales or Cymru is atrocious, and something that we do need to familiarise ourselves with. We need to, as people who live in England or Britain as a whole, we all have, I believe, a responsibility to learn about the history of colonialism and to understand what happened to people, how they were robbed, how they were exploited, and the long history of events, because pagans tend to like to look back to ancient history and kind of skip over that colonial period, which I think is a little bit of a problem, honestly. Um, I understand, yes, we're fascinated with the pre-Christian history, of course, but we can't ignore everything that happened between then and now. We cannot ignore it, and we really do have a responsibility to educate ourselves. And being ignorant is just not acceptable, to be honest. We can do better. I believe that we can do better. Don't sell yourself short. Study and learn as much as you can, which is why I always look up, okay, what is the Welsh name for this place? How can I better understand the cultural context and everything? I want to um, familiarize myself more with the Mabinogi, and Mara Starling has come out with a book all about the Mabinogi, so I highly recommend. I haven't received it yet, but I'll tell you now, it's on my reading list. Got a lot of books to read. I've been talking a lot about the goddess Domnu lately, goddess of the sea. And yes, she's a very obscure goddess that we really don't know much about at all, and kind of exists as like a vague concept. But people in this century have been kind of rediscovering or reinventing this goddess and using a lot of creative license to explore the idea of her. And to me, the goddess Domnu is like a primordial mother of humanity, um, representing, the first life that emerged from the oceans. That's what I link Domnu to. Domnu literally means the deep, okay, or the abyss, the deepest parts of the world, of the ocean, the bottom of the ocean where life first emerged on this planet. And when I think of Domnu as the originator of all life on Earth, I think of that oneness that we all share, that we all share this one mother, and that we are all connected. And evolutionary, life began to develop from these tiny little cells into little fishy creatures. into things that had legs that could crawl onto the land, and millions of years of gradual development, and here we are as human beings. I have this idea of like paganism and nature worship as being something that should be accessible to everybody, that we can all understand that nature is vibrant and alive, and that we are all connected to our environment, and that we have a responsibility towards the environment, if only to ensure our own survival. Um, but looking after the environment is about looking after future generations and what they're going to inherit, being a good ancestor. And that the kind of deification of nature is a way of conveying the importance of that duty, the duty of care that we have towards the environment. I'm hoping to edit in some clips of beautiful, beautiful Snowdonia, which is where I went, and amazing mountains and lakes, and just magnificent, absolutely magnificent. More power to the people who live there. And yeah, I felt like, oh, I wish I was Welsh. I wish I was Welsh, because it's so beautiful. But here I am in Dorset, lovely little Dorset, and yeah, I have a commitment to learn as much as I possibly can about Celtic culture and history. And I know Celtic is a bit of a problematic word, because when we're talking about Wales, Cornwall, Ireland, etc., these are all unique places with unique local cultures. So grouping them together as if they're one sort of what's the word for it? As if they're one massive. Oh, I can't remember. The words are not coming to me right now. But yeah, we need to treat each local area with the respect that it deserves as unique in itself. And Dorset has a lot of archaeological places to visit, remains of ancient henges and burial sites and wells and springs, and just amazing, amazing places to visit. So I do my best to visit all of them by public transport. And yeah, it is possible. Get on a bus, take yourself on a little bus trip. The train, I love a train journey. You can do it, yes. Migration, the freedom to travel between countries, and how that is being threatened today, and how more and more governments are clamping down and trying to restrict people's freedom of movement, which, in my opinion, the earth belongs to us all, and every one of us should have absolute freedom to roam around and travel as we please. And I think it's a crime against humanity to restrict people from traveling to wherever they want to travel to. It's not a crime to cross a border. It's not a crime. And I feel like I'm actually losing my mind when I come across people who are so opposed to people having that basic freedom. And it makes me feel like, what is this? A prison? Are we living in a prison? Are the borders prison walls? If somebody has committed a violent crime, okay, if somebody, is a murderer or whatever, and they're being apprehended, that's one thing. That's one thing, okay? But for ordinary citizens, or, even people that do not hold citizenship, there are people who are actually without citizenship of any country. There's a word for that I can't remember, but the point being is that your citizenship or your nationality should not restrict you from being able to move around. in my opinion. And if you disagree, then all right, sorry, but this is my I will argue it as best I can. I don't know how to. I don't know how to like put this across to people. People say, "Oh, the reason we need to restrict people's movement is because there's just too many people. There's too many people coming in." Um, we know that the birth rate has been steadily decreasing. Okay, so the length of time that people are living now is much greater. So there's the amount of elderly people is increasing. Okay, people are living longer, and the amount of young people is decreasing because people are having less children. What do you think happens as a result? A lot of old people, not many young people, a little chunk in between of people who are working, and and the people that are working are, doing important roles, looking after children and looking after the elderly. And when there's not enough people who are doing those roles, care work, often unpaid roles as parents, and if there are not enough people in that little chunk in the middle, then the elderly and the children are going to be neglected. And that's a bad thing, okay? So this is an easy argument. If there's not enough people in that middle section, then immigration of people of that age range is needed, absolutely needed. So, and that's the maths. That's the maths right there. That's one argument that you can make for why it's important to allow people into the country, and that this idea that there's too many people in the country, really, I mean, if you're going to say there's too many of something, then there's too many old people. So what's your answer? Do you want to deport? Do you want to deport the elderly? I'm joking. Please don't take me seriously. I'm joking. I don't want to deport the elderly to. Maybe if there was like a paradise island that you can live out your last days. That sounds lovely. Okay, but seriously, um, the arguments that people use to restrict people's freedoms are, in my opinion, just unscientific, completely unscientific. There's a word for when you judge somebody based on their nationality and race. Could we say racism, perhaps? There's a lot of prejudice against people based on their culture, their religion, etc., etc. And at the end of the day, all of this prejudice against people based on their differences is very much rooted in racism and our history of colonialism, neo-colonialism, and all of these things are just like vibes based and not factual, in my opinion. It's just spinning misinformation, lies, and fear mongering against different cultures, nationalities, etc., etc., which I think is absolutely vile behavior to kind of dehumanize people based on the fact that, oh, they're speaking a different language, they're wearing different clothes, they look different. Like, why are you dehumanizing somebody just because they're a little bit different? We're all human here. We are all human, and we share this planet, and we all have equal amount of responsibility to care for this planet, because our actions in one country will affect the whole world. So you can't close yourself off. You cannot close yourself off from the other countries in the world. It's just simply not possible. And I know there are a lot of people who think that Britain can just close its borders and cut itself off from the rest of the world and be completely fine, isolated. But it's just not realistic. That's not, now you're living in a fantasy. You're living in a total fantasy when you think that way. And I have come across those viewpoints quite a lot amongst pagans, heathens, whatever you want to call yourselves, people who are interested in pre-Christian religions. I've come across that kind of mentality of isolationism um, quite a lot, quite quite a lot. Hopefully, it's not like the majority, but there's a few. There's a few people who have those kind of ideas, and I find it very toxic, very dangerous, very harmful. And I want to dispel all of the myths, misinformation, lies, and fear that create that sort of toxic narrative. And as the environment faces more and more um, difficulties, we are going to see more and more migration. And this is why all of this sort of clamping down on the borders is becoming more and more of a focus in politics, is because they know that we are in the cycle of environmental collapse right now, driven by corporate greed and global capitalism. And this is serious stuff. This is very serious stuff. It's a big topic. And do I have all the answers? No, I don't. But I think the more people are talking about this, the better. And then we can come to some good conclusions together, you know? So that's why I really hope for more people, specifically in the sort of pagan community, to be addressing these topics and to not ignore it. I know it's stressful. I know it's really stressful. Sometimes spirituality and religion can become an escape from the real problems in the world. And other times it can be a source of regeneration, in that when you are feeling overwhelmed, you go to religion and spirituality to soothe your soul. And then once you are soothed, you can carry on with the work, the very important work. I will tell you a little bit about my personal background. Is that I have a lot of family who are abroad, and that is why it's always been very, very important to me that we actually maintain our freedom to travel, to be able to visit, to see our family, and to live in whichever country that we want to live. Like, I don't think that's asking for so much. Is it really? Is it really? And there's a lot of misinformation out there concerning immigration, migration, and visas, documents that are required, um, citizenship, etc., etc. So I will say, for my European family, there was a time when it was very easy to travel around while we were all in the EU. And I really appreciated that, because it just made things a lot more straightforward and simple, easy. But for other countries that don't have those kind of agreements, it becomes more and more difficult. And there are certain countries in the world that have a very difficult time. For example, Pakistan. Pakistan has an awful time. The people of Pakistan have an awful time trying to get to Britain, which I think is just criminal regarding what the British Empire did in India, Pakistan. You know, the British Empire basically created those countries that went and colonized it and then separated it, and all this horrible mess. That, you know, we our government created this horrible mess, and then you know, we kind of as a country owe those people the freedom to travel to Britain, actually, in my opinion. And there is a lot of South Asian people in Britain as a result of that colonial history. And um, and I think it's absolutely criminal that people are being restricted in their movements to and fro, and that they should they should be granted the freedom to live here, because you know, I don't know how to argue this. It just makes sense to me. To me, it just makes sense that that would be a natural thing to expect, and that you shouldn't be subjected to racism and xenophobia, Islamophobia, etc., etc. People should be able to live together peacefully, happily, building community. And of course, we've had a long history of racism and Islamophobia against South Asian people, such as the BNP, the British Nationalist Party, created a lot of basically terrorism against South Asian communities in Britain, and that was followed by subsequent groups that formed over time. Okay, I won't give you a long old history, because there's a lot to talk about. But there's always been, in each generation, there's always been some kind of anti Asian, anti Muslim political organization that is driving fear and hatred and intolerance and all of this kind of remigration, send them back, blah 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 bullshit. Okay, it's still a hostile environment for people who are really struggling simply to get a visa. A visa, yes. Oh my god, the golden ticket to be in the UK. And this is where we come into this term undocumented, because people think that undocumented means somebody who doesn't have any ID, no birth certificate, no passport, no driving license. Like, that's not what undocumented means. Okay, undocumented means you do not possess the documents which allow you to be working in this country, renting a flat or a room or whatever, and those basic rights to just be here legally, to legally be living here. Okay, those are the documents that we're talking about. Generally speaking, a visa, a work visa, and a lot of people are unable to obtain those documents simply based on where they've come from, because the government, the Home Office, whatever, decides that they're not going to allow people of that nationality. What the fuck? Honestly, what the fuck? It sounds mad, doesn't it? It sounds absolutely mad that you could just rule people out purely based on their nationality. And one more factor is, of course, money. Because if you've got loads of money, oh yeah, do whatever you like. You've got loads of money. You can go anywhere in the world. Nobody's going to stop you. Oh, you're a millionaire. Do whatever you like. Go anywhere. Go into outer space. But if you're somebody of a meager income, such as myself, such as most people, then your freedom to move around is significantly restricted, especially if you are from a country that does not have that kind of relationship with Britain. And I will say that one route to receive documentation, if you are unable to attain a work visa or a spouse visa or whatever kind of visa that you're trying to get, then your kind of last available route would be seeking asylum. And seeking asylum means that you are arguing your case to the government, where you say, listen, if I go back, my life will be in danger there. And you just appeal purely based on humanitarian arguments that you can't, please don't send me back because it's dangerous if I go back. And that's what an asylum seeker is. That's what a refugee is. That's what we're talking about. And when we talk about undocumented people, we're talking about people who are simply trying to get their documents. whatever way that they can, and are struggling to get those documents. They just want the legal rights to be able to rent a flat, rent a room, get a job, live their lives, pay their taxes, and all that good stuff. That's what everybody basically wants, that those basic freedoms. And I find myself just like absolutely aching in my heart over the fact that there is so much suffering and struggle in the world. And if you have the misfortune of being born somewhere that is very difficult to survive in, either because the climate, the general environment, or because of the political things that are happening, the government, because of the army, because of the police violence, because of whatever reasons it is that it's very dangerous for you to be living there, to say to that person, no, you are stuck there because you were born there and there's no way out. That's a crime against humanity, in my opinion. And I think it's awful. And every time that I go on a little holiday and travel around and go to different countries just for fun, like something in my brain says, why is this so unfair that I have this privilege that I can travel and that I can just hop on a plane and visit and have a fun little outing? And other people are being told, no, you stay put, you're stuck there. This is your fate. No other options. Like, doesn't that sound kind of like feudalism? Like, in the Middle Ages when people were basically tied to the land where they were born, or the specific little area that they were born. Like, you were born here, you are born a serf. Your job is to till the earth to produce goods like vegetables, corn, whatever. And you do not have the freedom to move around. If you leave here, you will be killed. That's what was happening in the Middle Ages. And is that what we want to return to? No. The poly crisis is what it's called, because there's so many different crises happening that it's like one great big poly crisis where each crisis connects to the other and it's all affecting each other. There's all, the environment and the economy and this, that, and the other. It's all connected. So as we face down this poly crisis, it's often through religion and spirituality that we find some moment to actually collect ourselves and not get overwhelmed and not get so fearful, and just refocus on compassion and kindness and what we can do to help. That's why it's important. So thank you for watching my video. Hope to catch you next time. And leave a comment and a like and subscribe. Bye.